Hello everybody. This video is to talk a little bit more about the conditionals that we haven't really gotten to see starting from last week. And so last week we focused on the first conditional. So if you look on the right, on the chart on the right, it lists the first conditional right here. Okay, and we focused on that mainly in our textbook last week. And so the first conditional, we use the present simple, okay, plus the simple future with will to talk about possibilities in the present or in the near future. Okay, and so we did that a lot. We use the simple present in the first clause with if, and then we use the future in our second clause. Now that is, if you look on the left, that is example number 1. Okay, we use a simple present right here, need, and we use will or can to talk about the future or present. Our next examples, number 2 and number 3, of these two this exercise that we're going to be looking at, we have 2 sentences. The first one says, however, the example says, I don't need a new bike this year. However, if I needed a new bike, I would buy one. So we're going to look back on the chart on the second conditional because that's the one that we're looking at. We're using the past simple or the simple past, needed, okay? And we're going to be using the present conditional, okay? And so the present conditional, we have our would, okay? But we have to have our verb in the base, okay? Why? Because of what message we're trying to send the reader, or the writer is trying to send to the reader. So it says, use imaginary situations in the present or future. Okay, so how do we do that? We're saying we're using one in the past, but in reality the word that we're focusing on is would. Okay, we're using would. We can use could as well, could, okay, and a few others to talk about an imaginary situation. So these words, these model words right here, give us the imaginary situation, okay, either in the present or in the future, depending what you're saying. Okay, so that's example number 2 over here on the left. The last example, number 3, says, I didn't need a new bike last year. So this is definitely more in the past. This is not saying this year, it's saying last year. Okay, so it's more in the past, the most in the past that we can go. So when we try to go more in the past, we're going to be using the past perfect to be specific. Okay, because that's the most in the past we can talk about, using the past perfect. Okay, so we have had is my auxiliary, needed is my verb past participle, not simple past, but past participle. Okay, and then we have our would and could, but you can see we have an extra auxiliary, have. That's my auxiliary for the perfects, right? And then we have my verb right here. Okay, so what conditional is that on the chart right here? It's the third conditional. It says if plus past perfect, okay, right here, that's the first one, had needed, past perfect plus perfect conditional, okay? So the way that we have the past perfect right here, had been, and then the perfect conditional, the perfect is this part, the have gone, and the conditional is the would, right? And so we're using this to imagine situations in the past specifically, right? Because these two were present and future, but this one is entirely imaginary situations in the past, something that could have happened if something else would have happened, right? Okay, so those are our 3 practice conditionals for this exercise, the first, the second, and the third. Please finish these exercises plus the second page, which this is practice 10. Please finish practice 10 and 11.